Shut up and sit down.
What happens when the church is forced to quit? The ecclesiastical equivalent of Ctrl-alt-delete. When you turn everything off and turn it back on again. In just a few short days, that's what happened to the church when the coronavirus meant everything had to stop. And things have changed. Lots of things have happened and lots of things have stopped. This week on Ctrl-alt-delete, I speak to Shuna Dicks about what her journey through lockdown has been like. Hi, and welcome to, we've called this Ctrl-alt-delete because that's what you do to force quit and restart your computer. So that's the name of the podcast. So today we're joined by Shuna. Shuna, do you want to tell us a wee bit about who you are and where you are and what you've been up to?
Yeah, I'm Shuna Dicks. I'm minister up in Aberdeen at Cults Parish Church, which is out in the leafy suburbs of the city. And our parish covers the communities of Cults, Beeldside and Miltimber.
Excellent. And how long have you been in Cults?
Just over 2 years. I moved here in January 2018.
Okay. And where were you before?
I was up in the beautiful Speyside for 8 years, Minister of Aberlour, a village famous for two products, whiskey and shortbread. And
Which are fantastic.
I never quite managed to bring them together into one service, but yeah.
That's an opportunity missed.
I know.
So this, the whole point of this podcast is to explore what church is like in lockdown. But what we've tended to do is go back to just before that. And I know that for you, the kind of weeks before the official start of lockdown were probably quite different to most of ours. So what were you up to?
Well, we had just come back from a holiday in France skiing, and I had developed a bit of a cold. And in the week prior to lockdown, it was announced that anyone with a new cough should go and self-isolate themselves for 7 days. So I developed a cough and dutifully went off and self-isolated, which meant that we were able to use our brand new, shiny AV system that we put into the church, which was, we had timetabled Easter Sunday to be our first live broadcast from the church. But with the system up and running, we took the opportunity to use it straight away. So for that Sunday that I wasn't physically in the building, I had recorded a reflection, which was then broadcast into the building via the AV system. And so the elders took the service, but the sermon slot was me on screen.
Okay, so you've had a bit of practice at remote worship leading before we even started.
It was a bit different, but I think it was just we had the system and we thought we might as well play with it, and that was one way, and it could get us using it. Yeah,
absolutely, and why not? When, as you said, when you've spent all the money getting your new toys in place,
yes,
why not?
And they've really come into their own, actually. It really has come into its own over the last 2 months, to be honest. Yeah.
So you've been going to church each Sunday to do what?
I have. Yes, we decided right at the beginning that there are a cluster of churches in the West End of Aberdeen, the west, out west, what we call Aberdeen West churches, who are part of a cluster group. And we've been working together for a number of years, joint efforts every now and again, a Pentecost praise fun day and stuff at Christmas and whatever. Mm-hmm. And so we decided right at the beginning, if we were going to have to do sort of online worship, let's work on that together. So our first service, I think there were 3 or 4 of us went to the church to record our bits, and one person did theirs remotely, and then it was all edited together. And then over the weeks, it's kind of fallen into the pattern that I go down and record my bit in the church, but everybody else is recording theirs where they're at and then sending it to a OneDrive file, where Graham, our session clerk, who's taken on the role of IT expert, he does all the editing and puts it all together and uploads it onto YouTube. I kind of felt it was important for folk to see the church. And I know there's a bit of debate as to whether or not we should be entering our buildings to record or not, and different folk are doing different things. But I just know from the feedback that I've had that folk have actually appreciated seeing the building, even though they can't go there. Just seeing it has been a bit of a comfort to them. So I've carried on doing that. And so I just popped down. And because this, the way we're doing the services, some weeks I'm only down for 10 minutes because that's all it takes to record the wee bit that I'm going to be doing. So I'm not there long. And Graham and I practice safe distancing. He stays up the back of the church. I stay down the front of the church. And so there's no problem. We're not causing any issues there. Yeah.
Good. So you took the decision, firstly to work together, but also to record rather than to live stream.
Yes.
Even though you had put most of the equipment was designed to live stream, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I mean, we will be doing a little bit more of live streaming because we're going to have a communion service in a couple of weeks' time. And the plan is for a colleague who's going to actually do the communion part. He will be in the church live to do that. The rest will be recorded, but he'll do his bit, that particular bit live.
No pressure.
No pressure, but there's again that whole sense of, what is communion and can you do it recorded? And, so
Does the Holy Spirit walk down broadband?
that kind of thing. It's just, and I did a live communion during Holy Week. And I had a real sense, I did have a real sense while I was doing that I was connecting with people, although I was there on my own with Graham up the back, actually knowing it at home, people were taking bread and wine at the same time. There was something happening there. I felt quite a palpable kind of sense of something. And I know from speaking to the folk who were sitting at home with a wee bit of wine and a wee bit of bread that they actually felt that as well. So it just in my head, it makes sense to do it live.
Some of my members, we did the same thing on Monday, Thursday, and one of the things that they found most beneficial about that was they got to choose which wine they were going to have.
I was having great
Nobody likes communion wine.
I was having great reports from people that had poured their port or poured their favourite whatever.
That's not fair. I think it's an interesting conversation, isn't it? That, I mean, I guess that's happened in all kinds of ways, that until you can't do something, then you just accept that the norm is something else, isn't it? And as soon as you can't gather together and you're presented almost immediately with Holy Week, when we would normally gather together for communion at some point, then, it almost becomes a kind of moot question that, well, why wouldn't we?
Well, it was interesting because one of the things that we've been doing is having a virtual vestry hour on a Wednesday morning. And we had that this morning, and we were chatting about the various things that we were doing. And I was saying about, once we're back to normal, whatever the normal becomes, we need to really think about what we've been doing and what bits we actually will carry on doing. And one of the chaps said he during Holy Week, he attended every night. Online, whereas in real world, actually physical presence, he wouldn't have gone every night because it's actually quite a long walk from his house down to the church. And so he said it was a really special week for him because he was there every night walking that route that we take from Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday. And so he'd found that really quite moving. So we have to think about, what are the things that we carry on doing that we're doing now, and not revert back always to what we were doing before.
So one of the questions that raises is, so firstly, I'll ask you a question, then we'll maybe come back to that. Is the worship that you've been doing on a Sunday pretty much the same as you would have been doing if you'd been gathered together, or has it changed any?
It's changed in that it's kind of shorter. But not a great deal shorter. I mean, our services that are going out are still maybe 45 minutes long. We open with our organist playing some music. We have the welcome, the call to worship, the opening prayer with the children's talk. We have the Bible reading, sermon, prayers of thanksgiving and for others. It's all there, maybe just shorter. But over the weeks, it has evolved. There's changes happening all the time. We've now, instead of it just being the 5 ministers that folk are seeing, we've now got the Lord's Prayer every week spoken by 5 different voices, sort of into a little video. And we had our first virtual choir singing a wee song on Sunday at the end of the service. So that, there's things like that happening just I suppose freshen it up a wee bit, and so and to experiment a little as well, because I've been putting together little, not an animation as such, but little videos with my wee Mitchell mouse that lives in the church, and using Mitchell to tell the story, and that's proven really popular, and folk are looking forward to seeing Mitchell, that kind of stuff. So we're playing about with it, but the shape of it really is fairly traditional. And we are getting really good viewing figures, it has to be said. Over 200 watching it live as it goes out on Sunday morning, which is quite incredible. You are talking about 5 different churches, and 3 of them at least have quite sizable congregations. So, it's not unexpected that we might get a big figure. But over the week, most weeks between 600 and 1,000 folk watching the worship. Which we're really quite pleased with. So the concept of, I know there's been some debate as to whether you keep it short or whether you keep to your normal length. Having a 45-minute service isn't putting folk off watching.
Okay. And that, so the question I was going to ask before I asked you that question was about, so one of the quandaries for me, I've kind of ended up doing something that's different from what we would do on a Sunday. So I'm sitting in my living room. It's a reading a shorter sermon, and a prayer and a blessing. So we're not doing music. We've not, and it just, I'm not entirely sure why it ended up like that, but it has. So the question for me is, can I continue to do that when we go back? Will I have time to do both? That we've kind of created something that other people are watching, which is brilliant. So we've noticed that people from around the village and much further away have been engaging with that in a way that they didn't. We've always had the audio of the service available, and it's pretty well listened to. Kind of 100 folk maybe over the course of its life, not in a week, but eventually about 100 people might listen to the service over the course of a month or something like that. But it's different people. It's definitely different people. So that then kind of begs the question, so as you said, what does that look like going forward? Because at some point we'll be able to go back to church, and we'll have created all this stuff. And are you going to keep doing videos of Mitchell Mouse because I really like them and I'm going to steal them at some point? But you do that, and then it becomes a thing, doesn't it?
It does, and I think you're right, because we know as well that there are people who are connecting with our church services that are never not been regular attenders at any church. We've also got members who are watching the online services who haven't been to church in a long time, who now saying things like, well, actually, when this is all over, I'm going to come back to church, because they've seen, they've enjoyed the services, but they've also appreciated the effort that the church has made to keep them connected in some way. And along, one of the things we've done, we've got a big congregation, so there's no way I could do this all on my own. I'm relying heavily on my elders to keep in touch with our members by phone or email or whatever, and that's something I want to hang on to. That's something that has been so good that actually, whenever this all finishes, that I really want them to carry on doing that, not to just be thinking that the only time they can contact their districts is when they're delivering their newsletter or the invitation to communion or whatever. Actually, we've started something now that the ice is broken there for a lot of people. And they've appreciated the phone call, the email, the contact, and the offer of support and help. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? There's sometimes, I suppose in all things, a crisis forces us to do things in new ways, and always has done. But this one, because it's been, the church has been talking for years and years and years about doing things differently. We used to work together in a department of the church whose job was to encourage that, and that was at
20 years
least 4
ago.
or 5 years ago, 20 years ago.
Something
And
almost 2 years ago, yeah.
yeah, so these aren't, and the conversation was going on a long, long, long time before that, and has continued. So it is almost as if until something so dramatic happens where literally the government say you can't go back to church, that it causes this outbreak of creativity.
Absolutely, and it's been incredible. I mean, you and I know from following our discussions online in our ministers forum that the creativity that's out there is just absolutely incredible. Different people doing different things, people learning new skills, things that they never ever dreamt they'd be able to do. They're now doing, and being, I suppose, brave enough to give things a go and to try it, and then realizing actually no, I can do this. It's yeah, and it's but equally being supportive of folk who feel that actually I can't, and I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, and this is working for me, and so we don't all have to be all singing, all dancing. We don't all have had to have gone out and bought, I don't know how much you spent on techie equipment, Stewart.
Not very much.
And you don't, you do what you can do, and yeah.
No, and it's interesting because the people, that is one of the questions that we've asked. What things have you had to go and buy to make this work? What is it you're using? And the answer for most people is not very much. And the things that I'm doing are actually repurposing some of the things that I already knew how to do. So people are using their mobile phones and maybe buying an external microphone to make the sound a bit better, and a light.
Yeah, I haven't bought a light, but I've bought the extendable microphone. I've got a tripod that I can stick the phone on if I need to, and it's got a wee remote control that I can press. I don't have to be leaning into my screen to press play, and that's been useful. I've probably paying for subscriptions for things that I didn't pay for before, like I'm paying to get the full the Zoom so that I can have more than the 40 minutes. I'm paying to use Canva so that I can use its whole library of beautiful pictures. And what else? There's things like that I've subscribed to, and that's been really helpful, because these things have allowed me to be a bit more creative.
And has that good for you? Is that, I think, for some people that feels like a lot of pressure, and for other people they thrive in that.
I've enjoyed it, and I have to say that when this all kind of started, I threw myself into a lot of producing of stuff. I think there was a bit of me wanted to do it for my folk, to make sure there was stuff for them, but there's probably, if I reflect back, a big part of it was a sense of me doing something, and I could use these tools that I had to my hand to actually do something, and I've managed to sustain them. I don't know how many days we are in now, but there's been a picture appeared on our Facebook with a thought for the day every day since it all began. A wee reading from a book that I'm following through, a book of daily readings that's appeared almost every day except a Sunday, because I give everybody a day off of that because they've got the service on the Sunday. And I'm finding ways of kind of doing those. So I'm not every day having to think I've still got that to do. So I might spend, this afternoon I've spent a wee bit of time putting together all the reflective images for next week. And before I came on to speak to you, I was upstairs hiding away recording the readings from the book that I'm using and stuff like that. So I'm kind of doing those in batches, and that saves a bit of my time every day.
Do you change your outfit, everyone?
Sorry?
Have you changed your outfit for everyone?
See, for those readings, I'm hidden behind a bonny picture. I decided at the beginning that I would just hide behind a picture, and I'm using images from in and around the church or nature or things like that, so that you don't have to see me. You can hear me, but you don't have to see me every day.
But those are, again, those are tools that, we might know are there, that you can schedule posts on Facebook.
That's right.
and it's, it's brilliant to be able to just say, right, I'm going to do a week's worth of stuff. And people keep saying to me, when do you get the time to do all of that? And you say, it takes half an hour.
Aye. Well, I did that before I went on my holiday last week. I scheduled 10 days worth so that I knew that on Monday I kind of came back, that I wasn't having to remember Monday morning. I needed to go and do those. So I had them all done for up to today so that I can ease myself back into that. So that's why today I had to start thinking, well, actually, I need them for tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, into next week. But you're right, you just schedule these things, you create them, schedule them, and it's a concentrated effort, but then it just frees you each of those days to then do what else needs to be done.
So you dropped something in there, which was an interesting phrase. I've just come back from my holiday. So so you've had a week off.
I took a week off. In hindsight, I probably wouldn't normally have taken a week off in April, because I'd only had a week's holiday at the end of February, and our next holiday really wasn't due to be until June. But I realised that actually I was really tired and I needed to take a bit of a break. I needed to get away from my computer screen, where I'm spending a lot of time at the moment. And so I made a decision to take a week off. And living in the manse at the moment, there's not just me and Neil, there's our son Andrew and his girlfriend. So they were all working last week while I took a week off. But that meant, but it meant that I could do whatever I wanted. I wasn't tied into having to think about what are we going to do today, because I think there's a sense that I needed a little bit of me time in this. And so I had a week where I sat out in the sun and read, and I baked and delivered little parcels to our neighbours in the streets. Just a wee kind of, well done for getting through it this long. Here's a wee treat, parcels. I did a bit of gardening, not a huge amount, but a little bit of gardening. And I had long lies, and I just rested. And I really, really, it sounds daft, I didn't get to go anywhere, but I had a great week off.
It doesn't sound daft at all. I think I haven't had time off, and I would have had by now.
Right.
So I kind of fell into that. I probably would have had time off in February, March, but we didn't. And so I've not actually had a full week off since just after Christmas.
Oof,
So
Stewart,
that's ages, isn't it? I know it's
that's
terrible.
bad. That's
it is
very
really
bad.
It's very bad, and I've been chastised a number of times because of it.
Yeah.
But part of the conversation now is, how do you take a whole week off? And is it worth taking a whole week off? I was talking to one of my other colleagues fairly recently. She'd taken a week off and she was bored out of her mind by Wednesday kind of thing. But she lives in a house with kind of 2 teenage children and a husband who's also a minister. So, that might have been partly to do with that. But yeah, that kind of sense that, I think that there's a little bit of guilt in me. I did what you did. I kind of threw myself into this. We did absolutely everything that we had planned to do. We did it, and just moved everything online. So we did a daily thing in Holy Week. We had a quiz. We had all kinds of nonsense. And it was last Friday I got to, and I woke up in the morning with an absolutely bursting sore head, thinking I need a couple of days off, and I just need to stop. And part of it's just, as you said, sitting at a desk all day is not what we're used to. We're used to going out and about and meeting people and sitting drinking cups of tea, and but all the variety of ministry, going out to funerals, going to schools, and all of that kind of stuff has just stopped, and you find yourself anchored to this desk, which is fine, but it comes at a cost, usually in the shoulders.
No, I noticed that as well. To just and because I'm sitting at the kitchen table and I'm using, I'm not even in a proper chair and desk, and but that's out of just the practicalities of there's 3 of us working full time from home, all needing their own space and needing a different kind of space as well. So
yeah. So that taking time off worked for you?
It did actually, and I'm very aware that I won't be taking. I mean, we're not scheduled. Well, we were scheduled, sorry, to take a holiday in June, which
Mhm.
from now till then doesn't seem very long. But I don't think I will. But I think Neil will. He's kind of hoping that things will loosen up a bit, so we could go up to our other house. I'm
Yeah.
not thinking they'll be loose enough for that to happen. But I think he'll need to take some time because he's working upstairs just now, and he is honestly his day is wall to wall Zoom calls, and I think he could probably do with a bit like I did, just going and doing stuff
Yeah.
that that is relaxing.
Yeah.
But although we have a different idea of what relaxing is. Last week I was sitting reading, and he came in and asked me to do something, and his phrase was almost, I looked at him quizzically, and he went, "Well, you're not doing anything." And I went, "I'm reading," because he never reads. So he doesn't see reading as doing something. And it was quite funny. And I had to have that kind of, and just because I'm reading, and it's not something you would necessarily see as doing something, I am actually doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm busy.
So yeah, so I could
Yeah.
probably see him taking some time in June and spending it in the garage and in the garden and
Yep.
whatever, just to take some time away from the daily grind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what, apart from worship, what else has been happening in
What
your
else is
church?
happening? We have Sunday morning worship. We have vestry hour on a Wednesday morning, which is just a Zoom call that anybody can join us. And we've got a wee regular cohort of about 7 or 8 folk that join us on a Wednesday morning for a coffee and a blether. Just uh,
Brilliant.
people mostly are on their own, and so appreciating the opportunity just to catch up. This afternoon we had our Sunday school, which has moved to
Brilliant.
Wednesday afternoon. And that's working really well. And interestingly enough, it's a much more regular attendance than a Sunday morning.
We found
And
exactly the same thing, but we still do ours at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning, but more people
yeah,
come and more of them come all the time.
that's interesting because we did it Wednesday afternoon, and we've got 3 families who are regularly there every week. They join in, and I have to say our Sunday school teachers are growing into this too because they'd never used Zoom before. But so today we had a wee thought about what was it? What was it thought about? That's terrible. Well, I thought about the Holy Spirit. That's what it was. It was about, have you ever felt the Holy Spirit? And the guy, the Sunday school teacher, led the kids gently into what that might feel like and what it might look like. He did a little craft with them, a wee simple craft that they could do to send to a friend, and then we had a wee quiz, and as well as just some general chatter about life and what they're up to at school and stuff like that. And that's working really, really well.
Brilliant.
So those are 2 regulars. Our Bible study, which I'm not really part of, it used to meet on a Thursday morning down at our Kirk Centre. It's meeting Thursday morning on Zoom and has increased in size.
Excellent. And the minister's not part of the Bible study.
And the minister is not and never has been part of the Bible study.
Excellent.
That's been, I think again they were quite tentative about using Zoom, but once the leader of the group kind of got into it, and I sat down and did a wee come on Peter, I'll send you an invitation, click on the link, follow the instructions, and I'll show you how it works. And so we did that, and he got comfortable, and then we set up a Zoom. Well, he set up the Zoom for the Bible study, and they've regularly getting about 15 folk joining in, which I'm not quite sure how many came normally when they met in person, but that certainly they've got new people joining in, which is just fantastic. And I kind of leave them to that. We, right near the beginning, got powers from the Kirk session for just a small group of us to kind of look after things. So we have a regular meeting on a Thursday morning. The clerk to the board, the session clerk, and our treasurer and myself acting as a wee executive. So we meet once a week just to talk through things that might need to be talked through.
It's very sensible.
Yes. And again, it happened just, we were due to have the trustees meeting to kind of sign off the accounts. And so we we have a system of core groups, and so we kind of initially got them to agree that the core group leaders plus this executive would meet to sign off the accounts as a representative body, and we did that by email, got permission by email, and also got the permission by email for the executive little group to kind of continue on beyond that. So that kind of, and that's working fine. You know, there's concerns about finances. Obviously, there's practical buildings issues to get talked about, but we deal with that, and it really works. And I'm really blessed here by a leadership who really take their roles very seriously. I mean, the session clerk, the board and treasurer, they're brilliant. They just kind of, they know what needs to be done and they do it. There's, you know, yeah, yeah. I just if every church had my little team.
Yeah, yeah, they're worth their weight in gold.
Oh, they absolutely are, and they've kind of come into their own now as well. Absolutely, yeah.
So do you find that one of the things that I suppose it happens when we meet together, but it also happens in kind of virtual life too, is the kind of idea that either you can empower other people or you can just do everything yourself. And doing everything yourself is sometimes easier because it takes less time and you know what's going to happen and you can't blame anybody else when it doesn't work properly and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, actually, empowering other people to do their thing is a much better model, and it comes to its fore in kind of situations like this, doesn't it?
It does, and I mean, I'd be the first to admit that I can be a bit control freaky in that, letting go is quite a difficult thing for me at times. But actually, letting folk just go on and trusting them to get on with it actually is such a release, and it's a big lesson. It's a lesson I've learned since I arrived here in this parish, if I'm completely honest. But the last couple of months is, I mean, just trusting folk to be looking after all the things that need to be looked after. It just means there's so much I'm not having to think about, which is really good. Yeah.
So what's the most difficult part about this then? So there's some really good creative stuff happening, but there's also other things that must be difficult, and they'll be difficult in different ways for different people. So what are the things that you're finding?
I think personally for me, on a very personal level, I'm used to having a bit more space to myself. So suddenly we've got a house full, and that's been absolutely, it's not been an issue. We've been getting on absolutely great. But the way that Neil and I worked in it, because he was away during the week, most weeks I was quite often here on my own Monday to Friday, and suddenly I've got Neil's here, Andy, our son's here with his girlfriend, so it's a busy house. We're all trying to work.
I saw on Facebook you were saying you're keeping her, if they fall out, he's going.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So there's that sense of, like constantly being around people, and yeah, so the need for me, so it sounds daft, but going to do the weekly shop just on my own is a bit of a break from that. But in saying that, I mean, we've had such fun. We've had so much fun over the last couple of months. We've kind of tried to create great opportunities to just have a laugh and a joke together, and it's been absolutely brilliant. And like I say, we've not had any falling outs or anything. We just kind of so that's been hard. Church-wise, I suppose it's not seeing people. It's the actual not. We can do Zoom, and seeing people weekly by doing that, but actually physically not seeing people is quite difficult. And when I go down to church to record, it's like, it's somebody that's not my family, and also I suppose this, that I've been very fortunate. I've not had very many funerals during lockdown so far. And I've only had a couple, but one of the other things I found really hard about that was not so much doing the services, because we've all, I think, led services where there's only been a few mourners, that kind of thing. But it was I'm a touchy-feely kind of person. I want to go and give that grieving mother a hug, and I can't. I want to, and I find that's been quite difficult, that sense of not being able to do the instinctive things that we might have done. So that's quite difficult as well. And I think this was the other one is just switching off. Just at the end of the day, being able to kind of close the laptop and walk away. It's been great. I don't have any evening meetings bar one. I have one regular Wednesday commitment, and that's to do with my Army Cadet Padre work. But no evening meetings, and having my Saturdays all to myself is great. But there's just a sense of that kind of still hard, find it hard to switch off.
Yeah, when home is work and work is home, and there's nowhere else to go, then that.
Yeah, and I think that's why I enjoyed my break last week, was because I was enjoying home as home. You know, it was my home rather than my workplace. The kitchen table I cleared of all of the work stuff. It went in a box and into another room. So it was just, I wasn't working at all. Whereas...
Do you normally work at home, or do you work at the church?
I do a bit of both. I do a wee bit of both. My routine would normally be to work down at the Kirk Centre most mornings, or at least to pop down for at least part of the morning. Doesn't always work out like that, but that was the routine. And then in the afternoon was the time I was either home or out doing visits and stuff like that. So yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is, I suppose, the kind of big who knows question. We're stuck with this for a while. Nobody knows what it's going to look like. Nobody knows at what point we might get back into church and what that might look like when we do, whether everybody will be able to join with that, or whether it'll be small groups, or we have no idea. So how does that feel, and how do you think, do you think people now, we're what, 7-8 weeks in, do you think people are settling into something different, or do you think that there's still a kind of I get a sense that there are some people who are okay with this, and they've kind of settled into it, and there are other people who just can't wait until it's over, and then there'll be some people in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of go up and down on that one myself all the time. There's some days that I feel that this is the new reality. This is how we're working. We just carry on doing what we're doing. Because I don't foresee us being back in our buildings for many months to come. So the routine of putting the worship together with the team and all of that, that's going to carry on and continue. The other bits and pieces will carry on and continue. And I think I'm probably one of those who feels that until we can all go back, we shouldn't go back.
Okay.
I really feel that the idea of only a few people being allowed to attend and it having to be policed and all, it doesn't say church to me. Okay. It says people who want to come and sit in the church building. To me, it doesn't say we are the church and church is back open. The building's back open, sorry. So I'm kind of of the opinion that until we can all come back, we shouldn't.
Okay.
Because there's so much of church that we wouldn't be able to do for such a long time. The chatting to your chums, the handshake and the hug at the door, the teas and the coffees, the kind of social community side of it. Yeah. The idea of us all coming in, just sitting down on our bottoms, not being able to sing and watching the minister at the front, just doesn't speak of church to me. So yes, I envisage this going on for quite some time. And yes, there are people who can't wait to normality returns, but I think that in the whole people are actually being very accepting of the situation. I think that's been a credit to a lot of people that they've accepted this is where we are and what we're having to do. And I don't get a sense from too many people that there's a rush to come back out of it. I think the message of staying safe and staying home and protecting everybody is there, and folk want to hold to that. They want to respect it as best they can. Mm-hmm. And if the church's way of helping to do that is by saying, well, actually, we won't be coming together and worship anytime soon. We're finding a new way. And that's, I mean, the new ways are changing all the time. I've just, an email's going out today with a worship at home sheet, which will then be posted to those who are not on email, which will provide, hopefully, folk with something to do on a Sunday morning if that's what they want. And then we also set up our Twilio phone-in thing yesterday as well. So we're finding new ways constantly of reaching those who maybe aren't able to engage with church in whatever form at the moment.
And of course, they can always tune in on a Sunday morning to the BBC and
Absolutely, and I've put that in our worship at home sheet. I've actually said that, you know, there's also is a program on the BBC that you can tune into.
Yeah, how was that?
That was it was fun. It was fun, nerve-wracking and fun. I think I lost count of the number of times we had to record the welcome words. It's just daft.
Just say hello.
And everything's timed. You got like 30 seconds to do that, and 2 minutes to do that, and 3 minutes for that, and so you're all having to kind of stick to your time. And so no, it was fine. It was absolutely fine. I was pleased to be asked. I know there were some folk queried why I would travel from Aberdeen down to Glasgow when was that a necessary journey. But the BBC were quite clear that they wanted regional voices. They didn't want the programme to become Central Belt based. Good. And so they were happy. And yeah, the journey is back to Aberdeen to Glasgow, and yeah, it was fine. So yeah, no, it was good. And it's been really interesting that when I was approached, one of the reasons I was approached is because I was female. And there has been, I don't know if you've observed it, but most of the Church of Scotland ministers that have appeared on have been female, and that is because they're working really hard to get gender balance in the programme. Good. Because some of the other denominations don't have female ministers. It has meant that most of the Church of Scotland ministers that have appeared have been female. So that I was quite pleased about that, actually, that they were thinking about making it different voices, but also getting the gender balance correct as well. Yeah. So I was quite pleased to be invited to take part. Yeah.
And you did very, very well. It's always quite funny turning your telly on in the morning and seeing people you know.
I know, because it was like watching Jane just on Sunday there as well. It was like, oh.
My pal on the telly. It's pretty, I think, we're talking about how the church has changed. The BBC programming has changed.
Absolutely.
It's been fabulous to see how quickly they recognise how important that was for people.
Yeah. So you get 3 programmes now in Scotland on a Sunday morning to watch, or a Sunday, and then Easter Sunday they put in the Roman Catholic Mass as well, which I watched, which was just beautiful. I loved that as well. That was like 4 hours of wall-to-wall church.
Yeah.
And it's been incredible. And I know that the BBC have been quite pleased with the viewing figures for the reflections, and the question has been asked, is that something that carries on beyond, yeah.
Good.
So that's good.
And talking about watching things, have you been watching round other people and
Of course I have. I've enjoyed that as well. Although I have to confess that on Sunday just past, I made the conscious decision just to watch our own service and to watch the reflections of the key, because 2 weeks before I had been trying to get around as many folk as possible, including your good self. And I just this Sunday decided, no, I'm still on holiday. Let's not be doing that. Let's not be, because it was like, where am I going now? Who can I go and see now? And their YouTube thing doesn't go live till 10:30, and that's no use because that'll clash with mine. And so no, I just decided. So no, it's been really good, actually. It's been really interesting to go and do that, and to just see what different folk are doing and enjoy their
It's the famous thing, isn't it? Ministers don't ever get to go to church.
No, absolutely.
You're leading, so now we can, and I'm the same on a Sunday morning. I can go to church 4 or 5 times, and it's great.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. And always fascinating to see how different people treat exactly the same passages.
Absolutely, yes. No, it's been really interesting, actually, just to see how that's all arrived at, and the ways they've come at it. And yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting to see too the creativity of folk, and just the different settings they give themselves, the different ways they put their services together. No, it's been really good.
Brilliant. Mm-hmm. So what have you bought? We kind of skirted round that earlier on.
What have I bought?
What have you bought to make all this happen? Have you had to go and buy a thing? So you had a tripod.
I had a tripod. No, I bought my tripod. I bought the microphone, and I've even got the wee fluffy thing. So if I go outside, it doesn't. Yeah. Although I went out the other.
Have you been outside yet?
I have. I'll tell you a wee story. I was asked to do a little bit of input for a VE Day service that one of the other Army Cadet Padres was putting together. And so I thought I'll go, and I had to put my uniform on, although I just put my top on. I didn't bother to put the
Classic.
So I went and sat out. I thought I'll go outside into the garden. It's a nice sunny day, and so I sat. The next door neighbour's dog was barking away, and I thought I'll wait till she stops. That's fine. It stopped, and then there was just an almighty number of cars went past. It's like there's not meant to be any cars. So I ended up going back inside and recording it inside to get enough quiet to do that. So yeah, so I've got that equipment. As I say, we had not long put in this fancy AV system at the church, having spent many thousands of pounds on that. So that's kind of come into its own. Oh, here's my husband just arrived. So that's kind of come into its own as well. So we wouldn't include that in purchased for the COVID-19 pandemic, but it's certainly
it's been handy.
It's been very handy. It's been very handy, and Graham, our session clerk, has taken on the role. It was his it was he and I's project when we put all of that in. So he's taken on the role of using it all and then doing all the editing and whatever. So he's been learning as he goes away along as well, using different editing tools to try and put things together. So yeah, so I didn't have to buy a huge amount. And
so that's twice you've mentioned being a padre, which I know is something that you absolutely love.
Oh, I do.
So how's that been working? Because that's a going out and being with young people and
really interesting in that the battalion to which I'm one of the padres, myself and Keith Blackwood, covers the whole of the northeast of Scotland. So all the Army Cadet units that scattered around that block. So they've obviously not been able to meet. So the commandant of the battalion decided to set up a virtual battalion night each Wednesday night. So it goes out as a Facebook Live event, and they've been getting a reasonable attendance. Obviously not the same numbers, but a lot of the adult volunteers are tuning in, the cadets are tuning in and joining in. They've got weekly challenges, they've got a lot of information being given to them, and just keeping that ticking over. And it's very much just keeping the interest going, keeping the ticking over. So one of the nights, the commandant got Keith and I to do a takeover for the first part of the evening. And so we kind of it wasn't zoomed in, I can't remember what we used. It was maybe a Google thing that was used. So we just asked each other lots of random questions out of a jar. We both had jars with questions we'd put together beforehand and just did that, and that seemed to go down quite well. But we've both, in the midst of all of this, had to go into padre mode and support some of the cadets and volunteers. Whilst the cadets are not physically meeting, apart from this Wednesday evening get together, the battalion still takes its care of its adults and its young folk very seriously. So there have been a couple of instances where we've been asked if we would get in touch with so and so just to have a chat and to see how they're doing and to give them some support. But our commandant's been quite clear from the word go that actually the padres have got a real role at the moment, that whilst our main role in any year is to go away to camp in the summer for the fortnight, and although we're there for the whole year round, actually at the moment there's a bit more of a role. So on a Wednesday evening, I attend the parade night, the virtual parade night, just so I'm there and just remind everybody every week that, hi, I'm here. If anybody needs listening ear or any help or whatever, you just have to shout. And that's been good, actually. That's been really good. Yeah.
You mentioned the weekly challenges and camp. So one of your weekly challenges reflected camp round about Easter. I remember seeing a picture of a very intricate and complicated egg.
Yes. Yes.
Canvas and some.
They did. They had an Easter egg challenge. So I took part. You give me just 2 seconds.
Oh.
I'll show everyone.
You've kept it. Fabulous.
It's still here. This is my little.
Excellent. It's definitely you.
It's definitely me. It's even got the hair. It's got the hair bun at the back.
Oh, brilliant.
It's got the padre bit, and it's got my major rank slide. It's got all the bits.
Did you win?
No.
Oh.
I think they decided that it was for the youngsters. It really wasn't for the adults. And I'm thinking, I spent a whole afternoon making that.
But it's I think one of the things that we've obviously realised is that this whole thing is as difficult, possibly more difficult for children and young people than for adults, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it must be incredibly hard that they kind of they're not being able to go and hang out with your mates, not play with your friends. Must be really, really difficult. Yeah. We might miss going out and chumming up with their pals, but for the youngsters who that's life for them, that's a huge part of their lives. Not being able to do that must be just incredibly difficult. Yeah.
And so being able to kind of continue with cadets and Sunday school and all that kind of stuff just becomes
really important. Yeah. No, it's been good, and I think it's a little bit of, it's not normal. It's not, you can't call it normality, but you can call it a bit of kind of touch base. You're touching base with people who are normally part of your routine, part of your life.
What's the one thing, just to finish up with, what's the one thing that you've learned in lockdown that you're going to keep with you?
Ooh, what have I learned in lockdown that I'm going to keep with me? Zoom. Yeah, I have never used Zoom until lockdown started. But
nobody had.
Nobody
had.
But if all the online communication, it just seems to me to be the most intuitive and the clearest and the nearest to being with people that you can get. It beats some of the others hands down, and so I hope that we'll find ways of continuing to use Zoom for some of the things that we do in and around church, especially for folk who have been able to do this, who wouldn't physically be able to get places.
Yeah, it's been fascinating, hasn't it, that accidentally we've managed to provide for people who haven't been able to come for quite some time, and people who we would perhaps have ignored a little bit in the past. That we visit occasionally and maybe take home communion to, but now they can come to church every week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we've got a way to go to obviously kind of providing authentic worship for absolutely everybody, but if we can provide places for folk to touch base, and I think that's the thing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Shuna, thanks very much for spending some time with me today.
Okay. Sorry for the couple of interruptions.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And my dogs haven't gone mad today, so maybe 4 o'clock.
Mine aren't here at the moment. They're having a day with their human sister today. They get dropped off once a week for a day with my daughter and her partner. So they've been out of the house today. Otherwise, both of them would be currently sitting, looking at me, telling me it's tea time.
Yeah, I'm surprised that mine haven't appeared. Actually, it's 5 o'clock. What's going on? Yeah, it's been wonderful, and through Zoom, we're at opposite ends of the country and don't actually get to see each other very often. So it's really good to catch up.
It's great, Stewart. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me to come and have a blather.
Shut up and sit down.